atrocity stories because there are no photographs or eyewitness accounts. And they'd been fooled before.
I recall hearing about World War I from my father and how so many of the so-called German atrocities were faked by our own people trying to propagandize us into fighting the war.
But there was enough detail here that I think they could have believed far more, and they could have treated things far more seriously, particularly when you compare how they covered other stories.
Deborah Lipstadt analyzed hundreds of Holocaust news stories. She says editors consistently gave more credence to Nazi reports than those from Jewish sources. For example, when the Germans take credit for killing 258 Jews in Berlin, it hits the front page in the Chicago Tribune.
The 258 came from the perpetrators. So the Gestapo said, we killed these 258, so there was no doubting it.
2 weeks later, Jewish groups decry more than 1 million dead. The Tribune runs the story on page 6 as if it were filler.
So it was eminently missable, page 6 at the bottom of the page. And if you saw it, it was dismissible. You could dismiss it as this can't be true, because if it were a story of this magnitude, it would be on page 1.
It's the difference between my turning to you and saying, you know, 1 million people have died, and my turning to you and saying, 1 million people have died. Obviously, the murder of 1 million people, if it's really believed, is one hell of an important story.
Hitler is now waging 2 wars, one against the Allies, and one against the Jews. But word of his final solution leaks out.
In August 1942, a telegram was sent by Gerhard Riegner of the World Jewish Congress, which says that in Führer's headquarters there is a plan under discussion for the murder of all European Jews.
The State Department receives Riegner's telegram. Now, the same agency that is preventing Jewish immigration starts suppressing vital information. Bureaucrats deliberately withhold the disturbing telegram from its intended recipient, Rabbi Stephen Wise, president of the American Jewish Congress.
Stephen Wise was unquestionably the most prominent Jewish leader in the United States. And, perhaps most importantly, he had a relationship with Franklin Roosevelt, which gave him occasional access to the White House.
When Wise learns of the telegram, the State Department begs him not to go public, pending further investigation.
In November, after a 3-month delay, the State Department came back to Rabbi Wise and they told him, we can confirm